Hello, everyone. Uh, this is part 6. We'll see if this is the last part. Depends on how long this goes. Alright, let's just dive on in. Chapter 21. An oven to cook with. When Charlie arrived home, her mother met her at the front door, looking worried. "Where were you?" Miss Monroe burst out. "Your teacher just called." She gave Charlie a penetrating look. "Apparently you weren't in school today, which is odd considering how early you left the house." "I'm sorry," Charlie apologized. "I missed the bus because I had to go and see Poppy. I was worried about her. She's been having trouble lately." Charlie found that her eyes had filled with tears. "And I forgot my lunch, and I hate walking into class late." "So you took the whole day off?" Miss Monroe said more gently. "I'm really sorry, Mom. It won't happen again. I promise. I was just trying to help Poppy." Miss Monroe gave her daughter a tight hug. "Is everything all right with her?" "I don't think so, Charlie said, "which is why I'm trying to help." After supper that night, Charlie left a piece of buttered soda bread by her goose. In the morning the bread was gone, and he'd waddled around to the other side of the apple tree. She didn't understand why he moved about at night, but Mary Claire said it was probably because Charlie and Poppy had been such good friends. "You have a special connection," she told Charlie, who had gone straight to Mary Claire's after breakfast. "The goose can sense that. Besides, if it's food and love that will melt away Poppy's anger, and that's what you're giving your goose, well, it makes perfect sense. N'est-ce pas? You soften his heart enough so we can walk a little at night. And let us not forget those dark hours are a time when magic is at its most powerful." "Do you think I can make him real again?" Charlie wondered, and Mary Claire shook his head. "Only Poppy can do that. But perhaps our twirlies have worked, Cherry. Why don't you go and see?" Thank goodness it was Saturday and there was no school for Charlie. With a churning stomach she headed over to the canal, anxious about what she would find. At the bottom of the grassy tract that led down from the road, Charlie stopped. She stood quite still, staring in the direction of the cottage. The door was opening, and she watched as Poppy appeared, blinking in the sunlight and shielding her eyes from the early morning glare. It had worked! Charlie was about to shout something when she noticed the plastic bag of twirlies still lying on the grass where she'd left it the night before. So Poppy hadn't seen them yet. Well, she would now. But Poppy paid no attention to the bag at all. She just ran down into the canal, jumped in fully clothed, clenching her magic wand. Now Charlie was worried. No one went swimming in the canal. The sides were straight and steep, and the water was a dark, murky green. She could see a family of ducks floating down, and Charlie watched in distress as Poppy whipped out her wand and yelled, "Constricti crabby haltus!" The ducks immediately turned to stone, and Poppy picked them up, throwing them on to the bank. They landed among the reeds with a succession of dull thuds. Then, after ducking her head under water, she climbed out again, shaking herself vigorously like a dog. Looking neither left nor right, Poppy stormed up the bank. Even her walk was filled with a fury that made Charlie nervous just to watch. With a massive leap she vaulted over the stone wall and marched straight back into the cottage, ignoring the bag of twirlies as she stomped inside. "Oh no!" Charlie groaned softly. Poppy hadn't even tried one. For a brief instant she considered trying to talk to Poppy again, but the thought of that blank face and those dull, unseeing eyes stopped her. There was no point in going back to the cottage just yet, not unless she wanted to be turned into stone. Charlie didn't actually believe that Poppy would use the Stop It Now spell on her, but she wasn't going to risk it. Mary Claire sighed with disappointment when she heard what had happened to the twirlies. "And they were so good, too," she said. "I just know Poppy would have loved them." "So what next?" Charlie questioned, slumping over Mary Claire's butcher block work table. "I'm so worried that Poppy's going to turn someone else into stone, and then it'll be too late. I'll have to tell the police where she is, and poor Poppy will end up in jail." "No, we cannot let that happen," Mary Claire said, pummeling a mound of bread dough. "Last night I couldn't sleep, so I did a lot of thinking. Too much thinking," she added, whipping back the back of her hand across her forehead and leaving it streaked with flour. Charlie noticed that Mary Claire had dark, bluish circles under her eyes, and her skin looked puffy with tiredness. "I believe that what Poppy needs is an oven," Mary Claire said, shaping the dough into baguettes. "Once she starts baking again, she won't be able to stay angry for long." "But that's impossible," Charlie said, squishing a piece of dough between her two fingers. "There's no electricity in the cottage, and how on earth we get an oven hooked up?" "Yes, it won't be easy," Mary Claire agreed, "but is not impossible either. I have a small gas oven that we can use that runs from its own little canister of propane gas. I cook with it when the electricity goes out so I can still bake my breads." Mary Claire thought for a moment, then continued, "We could deliver it at night when Poppy is sleeping. She may be a witch, but she still needs to sleep. I'll put together a box of baking supplies, the best Normandy butter, some of my special bittersweet chocolate, flour and sugar, of course, some fresh local eggs." Mary Claire sounded excited, and Charlie couldn't help thinking that it just might work. "Let's give her a cookie sheet and some cake pans," Charlie added, beginning to feel enthusiastic about the plan. "The only problem," Mary Claire murmured, chewing on her lip, "is how to carry it in. I couldn't lift an oven, and neither could you." "We could ask my dad," Charlie suggested. "I'm sure he'd help. He has a pickup truck and he's really strong." Mary Claire pondered this for a moment. "He'd have to know about Poppy," she said at last. "We couldn't lie to him about that. It's too dangerous." "Oh, we won't mind. I know he won't. Not if it means helping my friend." "Then we shall ask him together," Mary Claire said, taking Charlie's hand and giving it an optimistic pat. "Come on, no time to waste, but you must tell your father everything that has happened." After listening to the full story from Charlie and Mary Claire, Mr. Monroe sighed and shook his head. "I'm sorry, Charlie, I don't think I can do this. It's a police matter now, by the sound of things." "Dad, you've always taught me to trust my instincts," Charlie said, "and Poppy's a good, kind girl. I can't abandon her." "Mr. Monroe," Mary Claire said quietly, "your daughter is right about Poppy, and everyone deserves a second chance, don't they?" "Please," Charlie pleaded, pressing her hands together hard. Mr. Monroe looked at his daughter for a long moment. Then he smiled and said, "Very well, Charlie. If your mother agrees, I'll help you move the oven. Poppy Pendle can have her second chance." Mrs. Monroe took a little more convincing. "I've heard about witches who cross over to the dark side," she worried aloud. "I know Poppy was your friend, honey. Is my friend," Charlie corrected. "Is your friend. But this makes me nervous. Getting an oven to that cottage without disturbing her would be like trying to step over a sleeping dragon. What if she wakes up and turns you all to stone?" "Mom, we have to do this," Charlie begged. "It's our only chance. When Poppy sees the little oven and all the wonderful ingredients, she won't be able to stop herself from making cookies. I know her so well, Mom. And once Poppy starts baking, she'll stop being angry. It's the only way we can reverse the spell and get her back." "Do you really think so?" Miss Monroe looked skeptical. "She's my friend," Charlie stated. "Poppy helped me the first day I met her. She rescued my sneakers from a tree. That's what friends do. They help each other." "Well, this is a little more risky than rescuing a pair of sneakers," Charlie's mom pointed out, but she couldn't help thinking it'd be nice for her daughter to have a real friend again. As far as she was concerned, Charlie was spending far too much time talking to a stone goose. So, later on that afternoon, Charlie's dad drove his truck down to the patisserie. He maneuvered Mary Claire's small white oven and a canister of propane gas onto a handcart and pushed them outside. Then, with the help of Charlie and Mary Claire, he loaded the things into the back of his truck. Charlie had helped Mary Claire assemble an enormous box of baking supplies. There were fat, moist vanilla beans from Madagascar, powdered sugar with which to make frosting, juicy organic lemons, as well as bags of flour and sugar and pots of local cream. Mary Claire had also put in 2 cookie sheets, 3 cake pans, a cupcake tin, and mini brochet molds. She even remembered a mixing bowl, wooden spoons, measuring cups, and a wire whisk. "There!" Mary Claire said with a nod of satisfaction. "How can Poppy resist when she sees all these wonderful goodies?" They planned to wait until early the following morning for delivery. Around 3 a.m. Mr. Monroe decided, when it would be still dark and Poppy should be sleeping, Mrs. Monroe had sent Charlie to bed early that night, insisting she get some rest. "You still need your sleep, Charlie," she said, "especially if you plan to go chasing around Pot's Bottom later on." "I'm not the least bit tired, Mom," Charlie had grumbled as she climbed into bed. She was sure she would never get to sleep, but at some point Charlie did doze off, because next thing she knew, her father was gently shaking her awake, whispering for her to get dressed. Mary Claire stood waiting outside the patisserie for them, wearing a long black cloak and a black wool hat. "I know this will work," Charlie said as they bounced along in the truck. There were no other cars on the road, and it felt strange to be out at such an early hour. As they turned toward the canal, Mr. Monroe cut the truck's engine. "We can coast down here," he said. "No need to make unnecessary noise." They rolled down the bumpy pathway and came to a stop at the bottom. "Now you two can wait in the truck." "No, Dad, I'm coming," Charlie whispered. "You need help." "It'll be fine, Charlie. You and Mary Claire are to stay in the truck. This isn't a game." "But how will you get the oven over the wall without Poppy hearing?" Charlie questioned softly. "You can't go through the gate, Dad. It's surrounded by nettles." "I'll figure it out," Mr. Monroe said, and they all sat in the truck a moment, staring at the shadowy cottage. It wasn't as dark as they'd hoped for. The sky was beautifully clear, lit up by the silvery glow from the full moon. "What's that?" Charlie suddenly whispered, pointing toward a dark shape that had swooped out of the cottage window. "It looks like an enormous bat." "It's Poppy!" Mary Claire gasped as the silhouette of a girl on a broomstick flew overhead. They could see her long, tangled hair flying out behind her, but she didn't look down or appear to notice the truck. Her hands gripped the broomstick, and the determined set of her jaw was clearly visible in the queer silvery light. "She looks like she knows exactly where she's going," Charlie's dad said as she watched her disappear in the direction of Pot's Bottom. "I wonder where," Charlie whispered, holding tight to her father's arm. "No need to worry about that now. Come on, let's shift this oven inside. Who knows how long she'll be gone?" Since Poppy had clearly left the cottage, Mary Claire and Charlie helped out by carrying the supplies. In fact, they all agreed it would probably have been impossible to move the oven into the cottage without Poppy hearing. Charlie's dad had on long, thick work gloves and tall rubber boots. He kicked open the gate and wheeled the oven through on the handcart, plowing down nettles and bumping his way over the tall grass. There's so many stone creatures in the garden, it was difficult to find a clear path. So Charlie walked ahead, carefully moving the animals and birds aside. She tried not to think about Peacy Flower, still crouched out of sight behind the holly bush. When they got to the front door, Charlie felt her legs go weak, and a sick feeling lurched in her stomach. Even though they had seen Poppy leave on her broomstick, and she wanted to help her friend, she was still nervous about going in. It was Mary Claire opened the door and entered first, following Mr. Monroe in the oven, and then Charlie. Luckily, Charlie said he remembered to bring a flashlight with him, and he switched it on. "Mon Dieu!" Mary Claire murmured as the powerful beam picked up empty cans of stew, twirly wrappers, and fudge monkey boxes scattered across the floor. "I did tell you," Charlie whispered. "Poor thing," Mary Claire sighed. "What are these fudge monkeys?" she asked, picking up an empty box and peering at the ingredients list. "This is not food." Mary Claire sounded horrified as she read the back of the packet. "There's nothing in here but chemicals, additives, preservatives." "They have a shelf life of forever," Charlie's dad said. "Twirlies never go bad. And besides, I loved them as a kid," he confessed quietly. "Still do every once in a while." "Disgusting!" Mary Claire shuddered. "Poppy must be out of her mind. Let's set up the oven at once. This eating of fudge monkeys cannot go on." They cleared out a corner of the room to make space for the stove to stand on. Mr. Monroe made sure that the gas tank was hooked up, and Charlie carefully arranged all the supplies on one of the empty packing crates. They stood back to admire the effect. It looked ridiculously out of place with its white enamel door and shiny chrome burners. "Oh, it's perfect!" Charlie said, skipping about in excitement. She gave her father a hug. "Thank you for helping," she whispered into his shirt. Mr. Monroe ruffled Charlie's curls. "Let's hope Poppy Pendle makes the most of her second chance, eh?" "I really think this'll work, I really do," Charlie said. She couldn't stop herself from wondering what Poppy would bake first. Chapter 22. A Bag of Almond Cakes. On the drive back home, Charlie stuck her head out the window, staring up at the sky. She was trying to spot Poppy flying around on her broomstick. "I do wonder where she went," Charlie asked, but it wasn't until next morning the answer became clear. Mr. Monroe almost choked on his toast and marmalade as he read aloud from the front page of the Potsdam Gazette. "Early this morning, around 3:30 a.m., a robbery took place at the Super Savers Market. Several canned goods and trolley bars were taken from the shop. Police did respond to the alarm call, but no one was arrested. Unfortunately, 2 officers and a stock boy were discovered at the scene of the crime, all having been turned to stone. It is thought that this break-in is connected with an incident last Wednesday, when a Mr. Darren Smeggs, the manager of Super Savers, was also turned to stone. Police are still looking for the young girl on a broomstick, whom the Gazette can now report is believed to be Poppy Pendle of 10 Pudding Lane. Miss Pendle's parents have also been turned to stone, and if anyone has information on the whereabouts of Poppy Pendle, please contact the police station immediately. Constable Flower, who is working on the case, is still reporting missing. The endangerment of a police officer is punishable by life imprisonment. At this point, the inquiry has been handed over to higher authorities." "Oh no!" Charlie wailed, pushing aside her Rice Krispies. She had suddenly lost her appetite. "This is awful. I must go and tell Mary Claire at once." As soon as she opened the patisserie door, Charlie knew Mary Claire read the headlines. There was no one else in the shop, and poor Mary Claire was hunched over the counter, staring at a copy of the Potsdam Gazette. When she looked up, her face was drained of color. "We must go down to the canal at once," Mary Claire said. "I only hope it's not too late, and Poppy hasn't been discovered." Not even bothering to lock the patisserie door, Mary Claire and Charlie hurried through the village. As they started down the canal path, Charlie sniffed the air and said hopefully, "I think I can smell cookies." "We'll know soon enough," Mary Claire muttered, but the answer quickly became obvious. Whatever Charlie had smelled, it certainly wasn't cookies baked in the little glass oven, because blocking the middle of the track was the stove. Only it wasn't shiny white enamel anymore. It was smooth gray stone. Scattered around it were stone bags of sugar, stone eggs, a stone whisk, and even a stone bar of chocolate. Mary Claire and Charlie stared at the carnage in horror. "Oh my, oh my!" Mary Claire sank into the grass. "This is awful, really awful." She buried her face in her hand. After a moment she whispered, "How do you think she got it out here?" "Through it," Charlie said in a dull voice. "You forget how strong Poppy is. She can lift anything." Sinking down on the grass beside Mary Claire, Charlie began to cry. Not great heaving sobs, but quietly, as if hope was leaking out of her. "They're going to take Poppy away now, aren't they? Miss Roach will make me tell the police where she is, and they'll lock her up in the scrubs. Oh, it's just not fair!" Charlie sobbed, beginning to sound angry. "I really thought this would work. I really did." "I did too, Shari," Mary Claire sighed. "I did too." Charlie sniffed and wiped at her eyes. "Poppy wanted to have a bakery just like yours when she grew up. That was her dream, you know, to own a bakery." Mary Claire was staring into space, and she didn't answer. She'd picked up a little stone bottle of almond essence and was rubbing it between her fingers. "Maybe," Mary Claire muttered to herself, "if I can remember what went into them, it just might work. Like Proust and Miss Madeline." "What are you talking about?" Charlie said, not that she really cared. It was too late now. "I believe I have one last idea we could try. A special kind of cake, and we've already tried making her things to eat," Charlie cried out, "and it doesn't work. Papa won't touch anything we give her." So that is why," Mary Claire said slowly, "that is why we must give these little cakes to her ourselves, hand them over, face to face, and if she tries one, I believe it just might—" "You've got to be kidding!" Charlie exclaimed, cutting Mary Claire off in mid-sentence. "She's like a mad person, a crazy girl." "I know, but what choice do we have?" Mary Claire shrugged. "If we don't try this, then yes, you are right, child. The police will come and take her off to jail." Back at the patisserie, Charlie didn't say a word as she watched Mary Claire mix sugar and almond paste together in her favorite china bowl. She beat in eggs, sifted it over flour, and gently stirred in melted butter and a dash of real almond extract, a pinch of salt, and then the batter went into the little greased molds shaped like shells. The smell was intoxicating as the cakes baked, but when they came out of the oven, Charlie was disappointed to see how plain and fancy they looked. "Aren't you going to frost those?" she asked, watching Mary Claire pack them into a white paper bag and twisting the edges shut. "No frosting, but we must hurry. I want Poppy to eat while Mother's still warm." Charlie didn't ask any more questions, because as they came out of the patisserie, she saw Miss Roach hurrying down the street toward the shop, rapidly pulling Mary Claire into an alleyway. Charlie hid there while Miss Roach banged on the patisserie door, calling out Charlie's name and peering through the glass. Finally, after a few more minutes, the head-mistress gave up and left. But her determined, purposeful stride was not exactly comforting. "She must know I'm with you," Charlie whispered nervously. "It won't be long before she finds us." "Quickly then," Mary Claire said, cradling the bag of cakes in her hands. "Let us get to Poppy first." Thankfully there were no police cars or other vehicles cruising around by the canal. "Should we look in the window and see if she's there?" Charlie whispered. "No, we shall go straight to the front door and knock," Mary Claire said. "You can come with me, Charlie, but I have to give the cakes to Poppy myself, and you must promise me something," she added sternly. "What?" Charlie said. Mary Claire looked serious. "If anything happens to me, I want you to run straight home. Don't hang around. Just go." Mary Claire's voice was strained. "It's important, Charlie. I need to hear you promise." "I promise," Charlie mumbled, chewing on her nails. Not surprisingly, there was no answer when they knocked on the door. In fact, no noise came from inside the cottage at all. "Maybe she's out again," Charlie whispered, secretly hoping this might be the case. "Poppy!" Mary Claire called softly. "Are you home, Poppy?" But her words were left unanswered. The silence was so thick Charlie found it hard to breathe. "I'm going in," Mary Claire mouthed, slowly turning the handle. She pushed open the door, and there, sitting on her packing crate, staring right at them, was Poppy. Her hair hung in long, unwashed clumps around her face, and her school uniform was so dirty and ripped it was hard to distinguish the colors. But it was Poppy's eyes that disturbed Charlie the most. Those dull, cold eyes that seemed to look right through you without really seeing. "Bonjour, Poppy," Mary Claire said, taking a step toward her. Poppy hunched over, like a snail retreating into its spell. She raised her magic wand in the air. "I've brought you something special," Mary Claire continued, in a gentle, sing-song voice. "A little treat I made myself." As she talked, Mary Claire stepped closer, holding out the white paper bag of cakes. "We missed you, Poppy," she said, and Poppy pushed backward on her packing crate, scraping the rough wood across the floor. Now she was pressed up against the far wall with nowhere else to go. A grunt-like moan escaped from Poppy's throat, reminding Charlie of the sound a wounded animal might make. She still held her wand up, as if for protection. "Here," Mary Claire coaxed, taking a cake from the bag and offering it to Poppy. Her movements were slow and cautious. "Take a taste, Sherry. It's still warm." Poppy pulled back her arm or did something in her face. Perhaps the tensing of her jaw-line made Charlie scream. "No, please don't! It's me, Charlie!" Ignoring the cry, and showing no emotion whatsoever, Poppy sucked in a mouthful of stale air and started to speak. She got as far as constricti when Mary Claire bravely lunged forward and shoved the little cake in Poppy's mouth. For the first time surprise registered in her expression. She blinked, as if suddenly realizing there were other people in the room. Charlie and Mary Claire watched as Poppy chewed and swallowed. Then something extraordinary happened. Poppy's arm went slack, and she dropped her wand onto the floor. With shaking hands, Poppy picked the remains of the cake out of her lap where it had fallen, and took another bite. This time she closed her eyes, and Charlie could see tears leaking out of them, tears that went on, streaming down her face and checked. Mary Claire crouched down and put an arm around her shoulders. "You are remembering, Chérie?" "Yes," Poppy sniffed, opening her eyes and looking at Mary Claire for the first time. "Remember this taste, the feeling of the cake in my mouth. I remember being born, and you wrapped me up in a warm cloth, and how happy I felt, how full and content." She let her tears fall and blinked through them in wonder. "Am I the baby you told me about?" "You are," Mary Claire said. "You were born right on my patisserie floor, in the middle of a beautiful May afternoon. It was a wonderful moment, and the first thing you did was reach out and grab for a bag of these very almond cakes." Mary Claire laughed at the memory, and Charlie laughed too. Not that she understood what was going on. She was just so relieved to hear Poppy's voice again. "So you see," Mary Claire continued, "you're destined to be a cook from the very beginning. I believe you have to be born in a bakery to acquire your kind of passion." "It's too late now," Poppy croaked, her voice sounding rusty from not being used. "I can't go back. I can't change things. I don't know how." "Yes, you can," Mary Claire persisted, "and we're here to help you." She settled herself more comfortably on the floor. "Now don't speak for a moment, please. Just listen. I've been doing some serious thinking. My awful old landlord won't renew my lease, but I'm not ready to get out of the bakery business yet, and you always wanted to own a cake shop. So here's my idea. This cottage would make a perfect patisserie. I could live upstairs, and you could live with me. If I present your case very carefully to the authorities, I'm sure they would agree." "Oh, Mary Claire, that's a brilliant idea!" Charlie cried, hopping about the floor. "I'm so excited, and you know my dad would help out with the carpentry and stuff. He's really good at that kind of thing. My mom could make curtains and tablecloths." "No," Poppy shook her head mournfully. "It won't work. No," she whispered, "I'm a witch, and that's why I'm here. I can't ever be anything else." "Yes, you can," Mary Claire insisted. "You can be whatever you want to be. I was always told that I should study accounting because I was good at math. That's what my nasty old teachers used to say. Well, I hated math. I might have been good at it, but I never enjoyed it. I couldn't imagine nothing worse than sitting in my office all day, staring at numbers." "It's too late," Poppy said again, her head drooping forward. "Nobody will believe me. They'll think I'm evil. I don't know how to make things right." "Yes, you do," Mary Claire said. "Otherwise you wouldn't have remembered being born in my bakery. You're a kind, good person, Poppy. You need to open up your heart again." She patted Poppy's knee and tucked the bag of almond cakes onto her lap. "All I ask is that you eat up the rest of the cakes. If, when you've finished them, you still feel there's no hope, then we'll leave you in peace. You can live your life as you wish." She sighed. "Turn people to stone. Fill yourself up with those revolting curlies. But you should know," Mary Claire cautioned, "that the police are looking for you." "Please go," Poppy whispered, hanging her head still farther so it rested on her knees. "I'd like to be alone." "Come," Mary Claire said, getting up and taking Charlie by the hand. "No!" Charlie tugged her arm free in dismay. "We can't go. I'm not leaving her." "There's nothing more we can do," Mary Claire said. "It's up to Poppy now." "Poppy, please," Charlie begged. "Come with us. Don't stay here by yourself." But Poppy didn't answer. She was still and immobile as a stone statue. The only sound was the muffled sniff-sniff of someone softly crying. Chapter 23. A Visit from the Police. "Was she really born in your bakery?" Charlie asked as she walked home. "She was, although I didn't see her again after that. Not for 10 whole years," Mary Claire said. "Not until she turned up on my doorstep, and that's when I sensed we'd met before. Perhaps it was something in her eyes," she remarked, linking her arm through Charlie's. "Eyes are very telling. Of course, I only knew for sure when her parents came storming into my shop to take her back." She glanced down at Charlie and gave a small smile. "You couldn't forget Mr. and Mrs. Pendle in a hurry. Do you really believe that's why she loves to cook?" Charlie asked. "Because she was born in a bakery? Well, it makes sense, don't you think, Charlie? With a passion like Poppy's it has to come from somewhere, and she certainly didn't get it from those parents." "So what will happen now?" Charlie said, feeling her throat constrict and her eyes grow damp. "We shall just have to wait and see," Mary Claire said, rather more briskly than she intended. It was hard not to notice how many trees in Spot's Bottom had stone birds perched in their branches. When Charlie got home, her parents met her at the door, both of them looking worried. "Charlie, this is getting out of hand," her father said straight away. "It's time you talked to the police." "I'm sure they'll be around here soon enough anyway," Mrs. Munro added. "By now that headmistress from Ruthersfield will certainly have told them you know where Poppy is." "I'll have to hide," Charlie yawned, suddenly feeling exhausted. "Don't tell them I'm here, please, Mum." "We don't have to. We have to," Mrs. Munro stressed. "This is the police, Charlie. You can't conceal your whereabouts." "Yes, you can. I'm your daughter." Then crawling under the sitting room sofa, Charlie curled up into a tight ball and fell asleep. It was a flashlight shining in her face that woke her up. "Come out of there, please, miss," an official-sounding voice said. Charlie blinked, staring into the spouty face of a policeman. He didn't look much older than Charlie herself. She squeezed her eyes shut and lay still for a few moments, hoping he might go away. Unfortunately, he didn't, and when Charlie peeked again, he was still on his hands and knees, watching her. "We'd just like to ask you a few questions, miss." "Don't worry, Charlie, not in any trouble," her mother reassured her, as Charlie crawled out from under the sofa. "You just need to tell us where Poppy is," a second policeman, looking almost as young as the first, said. The spotty policeman opened up a notebook and cleared his throat. "Can you tell us where Poppy Pendle might be hiding?" he questioned, his face reminding Charlie of a large cheese pizza. "I'm a bit thirsty," Charlie said, trying to stop time. "Do you mind if I get a drink of water?" The policeman nodded his permission, and Charlie hurried into the kitchen. She stood at the sink, filling a glass of water. She glanced out of the window and saw that her goose had moved again. He wasn't standing under the apple tree, and she looked around the garden, searching to see where he had settled. Charlie leaned forward and opened the window and hitched herself up in the sink and peered further out. She screeched in surprise because there was her goose, directly beneath her. Only he wasn't made of stone any more. Soft, smooth, white feathers covered his body. At the sound of her voice, the goose tilted his head up and looked right at Charlie out of inquisitive brown eyes. He ruffled his feathers and gave a little nod with his beak and waddled back across the garden. That's when Charlie felt a large, sweaty hand grip her shoulder, and the spotty officer's voice said, "Don't try to escape." "I'm not," Charlie said truthfully, still staring at her goose. She couldn't quite believe he was real, and if he was real, she couldn't quite believe what this meant. Poppy had reversed the stop it now spell. She was back from the dark side, and Poppy smothered a soft squeal. "You just need a little air," she confessed, shivering as Hammond. "It's awful hot in here, don't you think?" "Get down, please," the officer ordered, escorting Charlie off the sink. He held her firmly by the arm and led her back into the living room. "Charlie, really," her mother admonished, "you'll just make matters worse. Please cooperate." "Yes, Mum," Charlie said, smiling at the policeman, whose name was P.C. Pluckett according to his shiny brass badge. "So where is Poppy Pendle?" P.C. Pluckett asked again, pencil poised above his notebook. "You've been informed by Miss Roach you know of her whereabouts." "That's right," Charlie agreed. "I do." "Is Poppy in any trouble?" she asked innocently. "You mustn't pretend, Charlie. The police know everything." "Oh?" Charlie attempted to look puzzled. "What's she done?" Charlie asked, stalling for time. "Don't play games, young lady," P.C. Pluckett commanded, holding up his hand for silence. "Miss Pendle has been charged with turning 6 individuals to stone," he announced gravely. "She is also under suspicion for the disappearance of P.C. Flower. These are serious offences, and a warrant has been issued for her arrest." He gave Charlie a hard stare. Puppy Pendle is an extremely dangerous young woman, and we need to find her as quickly as possible before any more crimes are committed." Charlie smothered a laugh and skipped over to the door. P.C. Pluckett was right behind her. "Stop right there, Miss Monroe. You are not to leave these premises." "I was just going to take you to Poppy's," Charlie said, looking up at P.C. Pluckett out of wide, innocent eyes. "Only I'm terrible at giving directions, so I thought I'd show you the way myself." "Did you now?" P.C. Pluckett thought hard for a moment, trying to see where the catch in the suggestion was. He frowned and scratched his spotty chin. "Very well," he agreed at last. Then, as an afterthought, he added, "But you have got to hold my hand, because I will not have you running off again." "We'll come too, if that's all right with you, Constable," Mr. Monroe said. "Dad, there's really no need." Charlie smiled at her father and winked. "Everything is under control." Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave the final chapters for tomorrow. Also, tomorrow there's recipes at the back of the book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write those out on some slides, and that way you guys can read the different recipes. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it wasn't too bad. And, thanks. Bye.